What was I making back there? Pretty much I was using the sample, like some Chinese sample of a Taiwanese singer or Beijing singer, I'm not too sure actually. But pretty much chopped it up on Ableton using Simpler. And then, like, you know, I'll use the Launchpad to play the chops. And then, you know, to do the drums, I just chopped up a drum break on the machine. And then pretty much, like, the beat I just made just consists of the drums I chopped up and the sample I chopped up, so yeah. You just find the right chops and then, like, you know, you kind of piece it together like a puzzle, you know, because you know, especially when you chop up, like, you know, a sample, like, you can't use every single bit, you know, and you don't want to blatantly just have it looping, so it's kind of like, you know, defeats the purpose in my opinion. So you just find your own way, you do your own chops, and, you know, eventually if it sounds good to you, then you just roll with it, you know.
Majority of the time it's just fiddling. You layer and layer. Don't ever duplicate a track and think that's layering. Like don't ever like you just say you have like a kick and like, oh, I used to even do it myself, you know, like, or you have a sound, it's like, I want to beef it up some more, so just duplicate. It'll just give you phase issues.
The first one I did was this layer. So, like, you know, it's kind of like a pad. You know, it kind of just has a nice tone, like just like gel things together, and then I added this bit. So it's like the vocal chops, and that's on like a different layer. So what I would do is like duplicate the Simpler, like the MIDI track with the Simpler on it, duplicate it, and then, you know, I can pitch it up and down. So, like, got this, I called it glitter or whatever, but it's from this. It's just like, towards the end of the song, it's chopping up these little bits of, like, you know, I don't even know how, it's like less than a second worth, you know, and then you just go there, like, yeah, so it's like little bits. And then what I did is I recorded it, and then I resampled it. And after I resampled it, I pitched it down an octave, and then, you know, I would sidechain it to the kick and snare. Yeah. I always sidechain to the kick and snare, and it's just, it kind of gives that push and pull feel to it, because, like, you know, the kick and snare is the anchor, and then everything like in between that is like breathing. This is my first album, Duality. It took me like 2.5 years to make. I wasn't trying to make it a masterpiece, but I could totally understand that concept of masterpiece, like something that's really where you want it to be, you know, like it met your expectations. When you can meet your expectations or even go beyond it, that is a really good thing to approach, I believe, because it keeps pushing you like beyond, how do you say, what's healthy.